I don't like going so heavy on 2020 because it's 2017 and I think the corporate media focuses on it too much. But I do want to focus on a poll that just came out. Emma did a video on it this morning. If you don't know, in a poll that was just put forth, Bernie Sanders still crushing Trump. Let me give you the numbers.
I have it right here.
Okay.
Joe Biden actually does better. Let's just I'll give you the facts.
I think it's rigged. Go ahead.
I'll give you the facts, guys. Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are the top two people against Trump, 54 to 39, and Bernie is winning 52 to 39. So Bernie, that's 13 points. Joe Biden, that's math, 15 points. So they're both doing extremely well. The two oldest candidates being considered, Joe Biden is 1 year younger than Bernie Sanders, so that entire talking point completely dismantled. If the establishment decides to back Joe Biden, they can't say a goddamn thing about Bernie being too old, because they are the same age, except by 1 year, and just because Joe Biden has great teeth doesn't make him younger. So that's just really all there is to it. But continue. Elizabeth Warren also does well, 49 to 42.
So, a few things. Warren's 49-42, like she said. Booker, 45-40. Kamala Harris, which we'll get to, 41-40. And Mark Zuckerberg.
Margin of error for Kamala Harris, but people, no name recognition yet for her, honestly.
So wait, you mean to tell me that poll did not include Dwayne Johnson or Caitlyn Jenner having a virtual matchup?
Just let me bang my head against the wall if a celebrity runs. I'm so annoyed.
We're in that state now.
Kanye's running. But before I move on, I just want to read a few comments. Why are people watching this? Piss off. TYT and their token black guy. He's not the token black guy. He's the token Jewish guy. We just established he talks like a New York Jewish grandmother.
That's right.
You mean they didn't have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the polls? Correct. We had a few.
Who wrote that? Someone? We're on the same page. Whoever that was.
Thunderman.
Tell him, Jordan. They said a lot of people have talked about that they like what we're doing right now and they want to see more of it. And somebody asked about the Medicare-for-all March, which I should have said. So there's a Medicare-for-all March in D.C. on July 27th. It's called Millions Marching for Medicare for All. Let me get you the details. 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So July 24th, which is a Saturday. From 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock, the National March will be on the West Lawn. I guess it starts on the West Lawn of the Capitol grounds. So
at 3.
At 3 o'clock, I'm assuming TYT is going to cover it, so we'll figure it out. So what I want to get to is two things. Number one, I think with Biden, Biden's got a little bit of that Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State thing going on. Like Hillary Clinton was actually polling extremely, extremely highly when she was Secretary of State. I think if Biden ran, he was against the Bin Laden raid. He was for the Iraq War. He's taken money from all the usual suspects. I don't think Uncle Joe is going to be as clean and come off as well as people think.
But he's really likable, and let's just put that out there. And he has this kind of blue-collar thing about him. When he was that young in the Senate, he was the poorest guy in the Senate, much like Bernie was for much of his career. I would say, I hate the word sellout because it's all that's yelled at me on Twitter all the time, but he did sell out a little bit. And I hate, being from Jersey, that he was so vocal about Phil Murphy.
Yeah, he was very, very vocal about that and how that was a stain on him and taking the money from when MBNA Bank is this big in Delaware. I don't know if it's still as big right now down there, but that was a thing that's always been on him. And, he just had his career really resurrected by Obama choosing him as VP. And that has been the whole genesis of how people have thought, he could be a prime presidential candidate. And he was trying to explore that idea in the last election when he was thinking about it, but he realized that he was going to not be as popular, or he thought that he was running into the process too late against Hillary to then re-energize that support that then she was getting from other sources that was part of the Obama faction. So that's why he didn't want to put his whole body in towards doing it, and that's why he decided late that he was against doing it. So it's just something that, again...
And Obama cleared the field for
Hillary. Exactly. So that's why it's something where he clearly is thinking that, I can easily do a better job than this disaster in chief, but it's being in that bubble again and thinking that you can just have the base, let's go with you any single time they want. And this is not the 90s anymore. This is not 2000s. The base is not just going to support anybody that they see at the top of the ticket at all. And it's just something where once you see your glaring holes in your summary that you have, then it's going to be tough for him to even think about wanting to be a candidate and think he's going to survive the primary with how the party is now.
Right.
Do you want to hear more expert analysis like that? Apparently, Nidji Nit says, I think the rest of TYT gets a large enough platform, and TYT politics and others really deserve more of a platform. I didn't write it. I'm just reporting what they're saying. Anyway, I agree with that. So, let me get to Bernie for a second. Bernie has, if you haven't noticed, is becoming a little bit more playful with his talk on whether he's going to run.
Yes.
I won't get into details, but I know some people in the Bernie world. My sources tell me if Elizabeth Warren or somebody Bernie respects and thinks can win does not run, and his health allows it, he will run. I think Elizabeth Warren is going to run. Now, would you be happy if Elizabeth Warren runs as opposed? I know what Emma's going to think, but Elizabeth Warren runs as opposed to Bernie. Well, what I'm saying is he won't run if Elizabeth Warren.
Right.
If Bernie's healthy,
Imagine how the debates would be on Twitter. Oh my gosh.
If Bernie's healthy,
It's so unfair.
if Bernie's healthy, should he run even if Warren wants to run?
Well, I mean, first, I just say that if you believe that you can be a president or any public official in this country, no matter if you are clearly ill-advised to be a public official in this country, if you believe that you want to run at any time, you have full carte blanche, in my perspective, with that. If you feel you make that choice, all right? So I'm gonna get that out the way or whatnot. In terms of if Senator Warren is in the race and he decides to run against her, I mean, this is something where he can say, okay, like, we're still going to be friends in this whole process. We're going to be respectful for each other. But, you can say that, oh, you backed Hillary and not me in terms of the last primary. And I just feel that there's probably more authenticity that he'll say that he still has, even though, again, that would be a difficult, debate to have or difficult discussion to have, where may try to think that he can have, a full show a divide, at least with Senator Warren. The problem with that as well is the fact that both of them, at least on foreign policy issues, are almost still aligned or almost on that sort. Now, even Elizabeth Warren probably maybe even a little bit more hawkish than he is, or has a little more interest in foreign policy issues, which is the real glaring issue for her, and that's why it's going to be I still have to think about how that's going to work out, because of how they still have their similarities, but still.
I think they're gonna have to work it out between the two of them. I think that's what. I don't think there's room for.
Because I would hate that.
Both of them.
I would hate it.
I would hate it too, and she would lose. She would definitely lose, and if it was her versus him, I'd vote him.
You think she would lose?
I think she'd lose in the primary with Bernie, 100%. I think the elderly thing is actually a more.
Emma is an apologist for Elizabeth Warren. Why?
Guys, I love you, but it's really, if you care about policy and you still bash Elizabeth Warren, then you don't know anything. You have to look at her legislative record, and it's great. It's the second most progressive legislative record in the country. So I don't get caught up in what she did in the primary. I'm disappointed, and I've said that a bunch of times. But when you look at progressive records in the Senate, she is the second most progressive senator, and if you want anything done in this country, you can't just demonize someone like that. It's so unfair. She does not deserve it at all, and I don't want that because it's disgusting, because it's watermelon. You're a man. Drink a beer.
What a sexist comment that was. Because I'm a man, I can't have a watermelon beer. I digress.
I like IPAs.
This is Long Island, New Jersey.
I agree with some of some of what you said. By the way, the views are doing well. Share this video. I want to get to what is it what's that thing, like an auction? Bring me to 500. Bring me to 600.
Hey,
Can I just add that
share this, get it up. Go ahead.
Let me just add that her political instincts are really bad. That's what could cost her the presidency, because she is so deferential to the establishment. Cenk did this interview with her, and he asked her, I think, some tough questions, and she shrugged. She just wants to talk about the Republicans, and she knows there's corruption in the Democratic Party. Remember, she called out Mnuchin and said that he was doing illegal behavior, and Kamala Harris didn't prosecute him. She's not unaware of that fact, but she's so she's afraid to criticize Democrats in the way that Bernie is not, and that's why she's embraced and why he is not.
Well, could you know, like, or you could think of one question on the top that in that interview that was like she couldn't want to give an answer that was pretty real. And,
Yeah, like
you know,
when Bernie said, "What do you think of Joe Manchin?" I mean, Cenk said, "What did you think of Joe Manchin?" You know, someone like him who just is, so with Trump, voted with Trump 55% of the time, and she said, I like Joe. It's just like this politics. She's been there too long, man, and I think, again, we're talking about her personality. I could care less at this point about her personality, and I care so much about her her voting record. The CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is her baby. She created that, and no one else had the nerve to do that. And it's given billions of dollars back to consumers, and yet progressives online bash her constantly, despite that legislative accomplishment. And in my opinion, guys, it's BS. It's BS.
Now, I'm not going to get into it much because Emma and I have already had a very fiery debate on this.
Oh, that was also that should be another video.
We'll tweet out the link today if you never watched that. We had a debate.
Get out of here.
We had a debate on Elizabeth Warren. I'll say a few things. My issue with Elizabeth Warren isn't particularly on the policy totally, because I think by and large, there's no contest between her and Trump. There's no contest between her and Nancy Pelosi. There's just no contest. That's just a fact. She's definitely more progressive than just about anybody else. My problem is I want to know, and I think this is why Trump was able to elevate to the presidency, besides CNN giving him a nonstop, wet kiss. I want to know, can I trust you once you get into office? That's what I want to know. Because that's been the problem in our politics for as long as can be. Emma and I kind of disagree. I'm not really into the sausage making and all that stuff of politics. I want to know, is this person what they're saying on the campaign? Of course you have to compromise a little bit, but are they going to compromise their core values? And I don't know Elizabeth Warren's core values because to me, I know economically she believes in tighter regulation on the banks. She believes in a progressive tax system. So I'm not that concerned about progressive economics with Elizabeth Warren. However, to me, it's not some small let's a do-over when you don't show up to the biggest progressive fight of the 21st century, which would have been endorsing Bernie Sanders. Who knows if Bernie would have won? I'm not going to lie to you and say. But this isn't about like a purity test for me. To me, if she is that calculating, she definitely calculated. WikiLeaks showed her team was setting up meetings with Hillary Clinton as early as 2014. Then I don't know if she were elected president, what else is she going to calculate based on? What else? It's okay to compromise. It's not okay to compromise our core values. The second thing is Elizabeth Warren, by the way, she shouldn't be held to a different standard. Let me tell you, if Cenk asked Bernie Sanders, what do you think of Joe Manchin? Bernie Sanders is not going to bash Joe Manchin. So we can't, because she's saying something that comes off political, Bernie doesn't go out and attack his fellow senators. So we've got to keep it consistent. I don't want to get off track too much about Warren because we have two more topics.
My nose is going to burn.
And I'm already seeing Emma get faint. Anything on what I said before we move on?
No, that's like just the only thing, and I really do like Elizabeth Warren as a person, especially having to see her campaign, Mr.
Someone just said Warren is corrupt. Look at her campaign finance records and then tell me why she is. Continue.
Yeah, that's the thing where
there's nothing.
Where you want to have people have all the information before saying those things like that. But I've seen her especially deal with Mr. Pickup Truck Scott Brown and wipe him off the floor, and to see her rise, and that was always a genuine thing that always stuck with me with her. But it was like just still seeing how she knows how to be politically cagey at times, but how she made sure that she wasn't going to come close to endorsing anybody when the Massachusetts primary was, and how close that was in that state. And I just felt that she had nothing to lose if she would have supported Bernie overall, because then she could have said, I'll support Hillary later. Just like Merkley, if she felt that way overall.
This is what I'm saying about her bad political instincts. I don't mean to cut you off, and we will move on, but I just think she's been in Washington, and she just thinks I have to suck up to these people. I do. I just genuinely think that's what it is.
And real quick, because we've gotten two questions that I've seen a lot. What do you think of Tulsi Gabbard, and what do you think of Kamala Harris? I personally like Tulsi Gabbard. I don't think she could actually win. I don't think if it were against Trump, I think she could win a progressive primary. I don't know if she could win a general election because what I've seen, and I like Tulsi Gabbard, but what I've seen, she doesn't have that like genuine, authentic it factor that a Bernie has, or a
and
or a Nina Turner
and she
has.
also has a really questionable history on
Yes.
gay rights. It's like, look it up. It's bad.
And how she's very pro-hawkish, and I just felt
I think
that.
No, she's not
Isolation,
hawkish.
guys.
She's isolationist.
I
For
would
sure, she's the
You
opposite
think
of
so?
hawkish.
Well, I mean, in
I think
regards
that's
to
her
like her,
strength.
like maybe her in like in Hawaii, in regards to there was a big thing that she felt in regards to I think like her heritage, or it was like an issue with I think AEK. I wasn't sure. I have to remember, but that was
We
like
can look it up later, yeah.
like I just feel that I think that she felt more that she could get more by being part of Bernie's wave than the full genuineness when I see it from say Nina Turner, or when I see it from Congressman Stewart out in Washington, where I just felt that like she really hitched onto the wagon. And there's just a lot of things in regards to like her record that trouble me honestly to have her be heaped upon as like a real progressive force in my mind.
I'm not.
She also didn't join on for years to single payer. That's
Right.
That's a fact. If you-
Listen,
yeah.
the bottom line is she did take a courageous measure to leave the DNC.
Yeah.
She was the vice chair or something like that. And, you know, for me, looking at her record, there are some things I'm worried about, but on the core things, I'm less worried. I actually think she'd be stronger, whether you're looking at a vice presidential pick or like something lower level. I don't think
she could be I think she's good on foreign policy.
Yeah.
She could be some sort of like defense secretary or something interesting.
And lastly, to me, a few people asked about Kamala Harris. I'm always honest. I haven't looked at her donors full stop.
We have.
Totally. But I will say, Kamala Harris, from what I see, I'm a little suspect of her verbiage and the way she talks. It sounds a lot to me like the way Hillary Clinton talks. Like, oh, I'm for this if A, B, C, D, E, F, C, D, are met. Kind of like every statement I'm seeing from her is couched to satisfy different things. And to me, actions always speak louder than words. She was just in the Hamptons in private meetings with top Clinton
She
donors.
is Obama. That's who she is.
That this wonderful lady did this video on for sure about that, and it's the lawyerish background that she has. And again, with how, as you mentioned, when Dave Dion and The Intercept talked about how she didn't want to hold Stephen Hutchinson accountable for what happened in California, and also how her stance was with the death penalty and trying to, similarly as Hillary Clinton, have it where I'm personally against it, or how Tim Kaine wanted to have it, but if it's the law and it has to go through, then it has to be administered. And that is, again, a big sticking point that is going to be an issue for a lot of progressives overall, is her having still that law authoritarian perspective on that.
But
so,
she did, and I mentioned this in my live, like how much she stood up to cops in San
Yes, she
Francisco
did.
was great, you
yeah.
know. So
That's definitely
I think
great.
she's a mixed bag. I think when you look at her donations to her Senate run, there's not Time Warner that's problematic, but it's not like you see like Cory Booker's, which is just like, is this Mitch McConnell running? Like, who is this? Mixed bag. I just think she's Obama. Like, I think she's smart and seems more progressive than she would be, and has a legal background with a ton of credentials.
Here's the bottom line. This is the purity test, and I don't care what neoliberals say. Are you for Medicare-for-all? Are you for free public college tuition? And are you against fracking? I don't know the answer to any of those with her. And I don't know if she would be open about it, because when you're courting donors who are not for any of those things, you make up your choice. Are you going to go the Bernie model and be on the side of the people, or are you going to try to do it both ways, serve platitudes, and take their money? You can't do both.
And real quick, with her speaking at APAC like she did, and how she was hastily pandering the whole way, and it just was really not a good sign at all for any progressive bona fides. And that is, again, another issue in regards to how you feel about Palestine and whether you feel about Zionism. That's going to be also probably a factor for a lot of people as this continues to grow and grow with BDS movement.